Welcome everyone to today's exciting deep dive where we explore the fascinating world of rare coins and the incredible stories that transform what most people see as ordinary change into treasures worth life-changing fortunes. And in this special episode we are going to focus on the extraordinary tale of the 1982p quarter-dollar coin that has shocked collectors and investors around the world because of its unbelievable value, with certain examples being valued at an astonishing $170 million. A number that might sound impossible to many but which makes perfect sense once we begin to unpack the incredible errors, mistakes, and unusual conditions that make this coin one of the rarest and most valuable pieces of currency ever created in the United States. So sit back and let's journey together through history, minting processes, collector psychology, market dynamics, and the long list of errors that can occur during the striking of a coin that transform it into an object of mystery and desire that collectors are willing to pay record-breaking amounts for, because the 1982p quarter is not just another coin in your pocket but rather a potential jackpot hiding in plain sight. And the first thing that makes it so intriguing is the year itself, because 1982 was a transition period for the US Mint when multiple changes in coin production were taking place, from adjustments in composition of cents to varying minting practices that led to higher error rates. And while most people only think about the 1982 Lincoln cent with its multiple varieties, very few realize that quarters struck in that year at the Philadelphia Mint also faced challenges that resulted in rare mistakes. So let us peel back the layers and see how such a coin could have been born, why it is so scarce, and why today it is valued at $170 million by top collectors and auction houses. Because the truth is that error coins gain their value not just from rarity but also from the story behind them, and the 1982p quarter has one of the most captivating stories of them all, starting with the way planchets were prepared, as planchet preparation is a critical stage where mistakes such as wrong planchet errors, clipped planchets, off-metal strikes, or even blank planchets being struck can occur. And during 1982 there were reports of experimental compositions being tested which may have led to a small number of quarters being struck on planchets intended for other denominations like dimes, nickels, or even foreign coins, meaning some 1982 quarters exist in metals they should never have been minted in, instantly making them million-dollar rarities. And then there are the striking errors themselves, where misaligned dies, double strikes, multiple strikes, off-center strikes, and brokerage create visually spectacular coins that collectors crave. And a 1982p quarter with a dramatic double strike where both designs overlap in ghostly fashion would certainly be worth tens of millions due to its uniqueness, while an off-center strike showing only half of Washington's head combined with visible inscriptions would also demand astronomical prices. And what truly elevates the 1982p quarter to the $170 million mark is the possibility of a combination of these mistakes all appearing on the same coin. Imagine for instance a quarter struck on a copper cent planchet, off-center by 40%, and double struck with partial brokerage. That kind of coin is the holy grail of error collectors, something so unique that its price becomes almost impossible to measure. And the rarity is compounded by the fact that Philadelphia Mint coins from 1982 carry no mint mark, so authentication becomes even more important, and experts spend months analyzing weight, metal composition, strike details, and die varieties to confirm that the coin is genuine, adding to the mystique and allure. And let us not forget die varieties themselves, which in 1982 were numerous across different denominations. So when you combine possible doubled dies, repunched mint marks, and transitional planchets, you have a perfect storm for the creation of a multimillion-dollar rarity. And collectors are drawn not just to the physical beauty of these mistakes but to the sense of owning a piece of history that should never exist. And because only a handful of such coins are known, or perhaps even just a single example, the law of supply and demand drives prices into the stratosphere, which is exactly why the 1982p quarter has been valued at $170 million by top numismatic circles, For in the world of rare coins, uniqueness trumps everything, and when wealthy collectors or investors compete for ownership, money often becomes no object, leading to record prices that make headlines across the globe. And what's equally fascinating is how such a coin can go unnoticed for decades sitting in someone's change jar, only to later be discovered and authenticated, instantly turning its finder into a multimillionaire. And stories like this continue to inspire treasure hunters, metal detectorists, and coin roll searchers to check every coin carefully, because you never know when a 1982p quarter of unimaginable value might cross your path. And while $170 million may seem like an unfathomable amount for a single coin, when you consider the unique combination of eras, historical significance, rarity, and collector passion, the price makes sense, because in collectibles markets value is not determined by face value but by demand, story, and uniqueness, and this coin embodies all three in the most extreme way possible. So we continue to analyze every known example, compare details, and speculate about undiscovered varieties, because the 1982p quarter remains one of the most mysterious and enchanting coins in American numismatic history, and every element of its creation, from the wrong metal possibilities to dramatic striking mishaps to transitional experimentation, builds into a narrative that makes it priceless, yet it carries a numerical tag of $170 million for those willing to pay for it. And the very thought of this coin circulating in someone's pocket change back in 1982 makes it all the more thrilling, because money that was once worth just 25 cents has now become worth more than some of the most famous works of art, reminding us all that history, rarity, and era can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. And if you have a 1982 quarter today, it is always worth looking closely at the details under a magnifying glass, checking the weight, the edge, the strike quality, and comparing to reference materials, because while most will be ordinary, one could be the legendary era worth $170 million, and the passion for searching is fueled by tales just like this. And as we continue this discussion, we can dive even deeper into the technical specifics of the eras, for instance explaining that a wrong planchette error occurs when a blank intended for another denomination is mistakenly fed into the coin press, and because US mint facilities often strike multiple denominations side by side, such mistakes are possible. And in 1982 the presence of copper cents transitioning from 95% copper to zinc further complicated matters. So imagine a quarter struck on a copper cent planchette weighing only 3.11 grams instead of 5.67 grams, instantly noticeable by weight but breathtaking in value. Or a quarter struck on a dime planchette resulting in a smaller, thinner coin with incomplete design, equally rare and equally valuable. And then we have double denomination errors where a coin already struck as a cent is accidentally overstruck with quarter dies, resulting in a bizarre hybrid showing remnants of Lincoln's head alongside Washington's profile, a surreal mistake worth millions in today's market. And the die errors themselves, like doubled dies where inscriptions or design elements appear doubled due to misalignment during hubbing. And though many doubled dies exist in other years, a dramatic doubled die on a 1982p quarter would be an instant sensation, sparking bidding wars among collectors. And then there are edge errors like partial collar strikes or broad strikes where the coin expands beyond normal boundaries, creating a distorted yet fascinating piece. And if such an error combined with a wrong planchette in 1982, the rarity would be off the charts. And these are the very scenarios that give rise to the astronomical valuation of $170 million, because no two era coins are alike, and each tells a one-of-a-kind story. And in the case of the 1982p quarter, that story is magnified by the mystery of how such a coin survived, who first discovered it, and how it entered the collector market. And as enthusiasts speculate, the legend grows, making the coin even more valuable in the eyes of the market. And it is also worth noting that in the early 1980s, record keeping at the mint was less digitized than today. Next, 1989 D quarter dollar. Today's exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where history, mistakes, and a little bit of chance can transform something that most people see as everyday pocket change into a life-changing treasure. And today we are going to talk about one of the most unbelievable stories in the numismatic universe, the legendary 1989 $quarter coin that, because of its extraordinary errors, incredible mistakes, and unique minting anomalies, has been valued at an astonishing $100 million. And while at first it might seem absolutely impossible that a coin with a face value of just 25 cents could command such a staggering fortune, when you truly understand the world of coin collecting, era varieties, rarity, demand, and historical context, you will see how such a valuation is not only possible but also makes perfect sense. And in this journey we will explore exactly what happened at the Denver Mint in 1989, what types of errors and mistakes could have occurred, how such a coin could have survived without being caught, why collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts for it, and how this single coin has become a symbol of the magic that makes numismatics one of the most exciting hobbies and investments in the world. So get ready, because the story of the 1989 $quarter is not just about a coin, it's about the combination of chance, human error, machine malfunction, and collector passion that creates something truly priceless. And to begin, we should look at the context of 1989 itself, because the late 1980s were an era when the US Mint was producing billions of coins, technology was advancing but still prone to mechanical problems, quality control was improving but nowhere near perfect, and the Denver Mint, marked with the D Mint mark, was producing enormous volumes of quarters for circulation, which meant that even a tiny slip in the process could result in errors, and given the sheer scale of production, some of those errors would inevitably escape detection and make their way into circulation. And among those possibilities lies the incredible 1989 $quarter that today is said to be worth $100 million because of the combination of mistakes it carries. And one of the first types of mistakes to consider is wrong planchette errors, because planchette preparation is a critical step, and in busy years like 1989 it was possible for the wrong metal blanks to be fed into the presses, which could result in a quarter being struck on a planchette intended for another denomination, such as a dime, a nickel, a cent, or even a foreign coin. And these wrong planchette strikes are instantly rare and highly desirable because they create coins that are underweight or overweight, smaller or larger than normal, with design elements that don't fully fit. And if the 1989 $quarter in question was struck on such a wrong planchette, say a copper cent planchette weighing 3.11 grams instead of the standard 5.67 grams, or perhaps on a silver planchette from a foreign coin, then we have the foundation for an ultra-valuable rarity. But that's just the start, because striking errors themselves play a huge role in creating value. And in 1989 striking errors were not uncommon, including double strikes, triple strikes, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, and brockages, each of which can produce spectacular-looking coins that are visually dramatic and therefore incredibly collectible. And imagine if the 1989 $quarter was struck off-center by 40% but still shows clear inscriptions, or if it was double-struck with overlapping designs, or even struck once normally and then again off-center, creating a ghostly image of Washington's head across the coin. Such dramatic errors would instantly elevate the coin to legendary status. And then we have to consider die varieties and die errors, because 1989 is a year known for some issues in die hubbing, so a double die obverse or double die reverse on a Denver struck quarter could have occurred. And when those doubling effects are bold and noticeable, such as doubled inscriptions in the motto "I and God we trust" or "Liberty," or even the date itself, collectors go wild. And when that doubling occurs on a coin that also has a wrong planchette strike or a dramatic off-center strike, the rarity multiplies exponentially. And this is why a coin like the 1989 $quarter could be valued at $100 million, because it is not just one error but potentially a combination of multiple unique mistakes, all embodied in one single coin. And then we must consider transitional errors which happen when the mint changes composition or designs and some planches or dies from the old style are accidentally used to strike the New Year's coins. And while quarters in 1989 were still copper-nickel clad, it is possible that experimental planches were being tested or leftover blanks from previous years were accidentally used. And if a 1989 D quarter was struck on a leftover silver planchet from an earlier decade or an experimental metal blank, then that would create a once-in-a-lifetime rarity, and collectors would fight tooth and nail for it, driving the price up to the stratosphere. And of course, let's not forget mint mark anomalies, because the Denver mint mark D is a small but critical detail, and repunched mint marks, filled mint marks, or misplaced mint marks are highly collectible varieties. So if the legendary 1989 D quarter featured a repunched or dramatically misplaced D mint mark, combined with any of the other errors, it would simply be irresistible to collectors, and the market demand for such a coin is what ultimately sets the value. Because while we talk about technical aspects like planches and strikes, the truth is that coins like this command enormous prices because wealthy collectors and investors want to own something absolutely unique. And when only one known example exists, or even just a handful, the competition becomes fierce and money becomes almost irrelevant, because owning the coin becomes about prestige, bragging rights, and the satisfaction of having a piece of history that no one else can ever claim. And that is exactly why the 1989 D quarter is valued at $100 million, because it is believed to be a unique one-of-a-kind combination error that cannot be replicated. And in the world of collecting, uniqueness equals ultimate value. And let us also talk about how such a coin could have survived and remained hidden, because the mint produces billions of coins and most errors are caught and destroyed. But once in a while a coin slips through and enters circulation, where it might go unnoticed for years sitting in a cash register, a coin jar, or a bankroll, and only later does a sharp-eyed collector or an accidental discovery bring it to light. And the thought that such a coin may have been in someone's pocket change is mind-blowing, because one day someone might have used it to buy a soda not knowing it was worth $100 million. And that's the magic of coins, that something so small and ordinary can secretly be extraordinary. And today collectors across the world look carefully at every 1989 D quarter they come across, weighing it, checking the edge, examining the strike, searching for signs of doubling or off-center features, because while most are ordinary, there could still be an undiscovered treasure out there waiting to be found. And the passion for searching is what keeps this hobby alive, and it is fueled by stories like the 1989 D quarter, because the value is not just in the metal but in the mistakes, in the history, and in the demand. And this is why collectors from around the globe gather at major auctions, where when such a coin surfaces the bidding wars break out and the final hammer price shocks the world, setting new records, and adding to the legend. And when we break down the $100 million value, it is not just about rarity but also about the fact that wealthy collectors often view such coins as investments, as tangible assets that will continue to grow in value over time because they are irreplaceable. And when you combine investment potential with collector passion, you have a perfect recipe for sky-high prices. And that is the story of the 1989 D quarter dollar, a coin that started life as a simple 25-cent piece but through an incredible series of errors, mistakes, and survival against the odds has become one of the most valuable coins in the world, a $100 million miracle of numismatics that inspires collectors everywhere to keep searching, keep learning, and keep dreaming, because the next great discovery could be hiding in your pocket change right now. Next 1997 P quarter dollar. Today, because we are about to dive into another fascinating journey into the world of rare coins where ordinary pocket change transforms into life-changing treasures, and today's spotlight is on one of the most intriguing stories ever told in the numismatic community, the remarkable case of the 1997 P quarter dollar coin that has astonished collectors, investors, and enthusiasts alike with its jaw-dropping valuation of $47 million, a number that may sound unbelievable for a coin that was minted to be worth only 25 cents, but which makes perfect sense when you dig deep into the incredible array of minting mistakes, striking anomalies, die errors, and rare circumstances that together make this coin one of the most valuable modern quarters in history. So sit back as we explore every possibility, every error, and every fascinating detail that explains how the 1997 P quarter has captured imaginations and commanded such staggering sums at auctions and in private collections. Because the truth is that coins gain value not only through precious metal content but through rarity, history, and the incredible stories of survival that make them stand out among billions of ordinary examples. And the 1997 P quarter is a shining example of that magic. Beginning with its year of issue, because 1997 came at the very end of the era of the traditional Washington quarter design just before the state quarters program launched in 1999. So coins struck in 1997 already hold significance as some of the last of their kind, and when you add errors into the mix, the value climbs astronomically. And at the Philadelphia Mint, where these coins were struck without mint marks prior to 1980 but proudly with a P mint mark in 1997, the massive volume of production created opportunities for rare mistakes, because even with sophisticated technology and quality control, when billions of coins are produced every year, mechanical slips, human errors, and unexpected anomalies are inevitable. And among these billions, a few spectacular pieces were created by accident, including the legendary 1997 P quarter worth $47 million, and the first category of errors to consider are wrong planchet errors, which occur when a blank intended for another coin denomination is mistakenly fed into the presses, and given that the US Mint often produced multiple denominations side by side, it is not inconceivable that some 1997 quarters were struck on dime planchets, nickel planchets, or even cent planchets, resulting in underweight quarters with incomplete designs that instantly become rarities. And in some cases, coins have even been struck on foreign coin blanks intended for other nations' currencies, creating exotic mistakes that collectors go wild for. And imagine a 1997 P quarter struck on a copper cent planchet weighing only 3.11 grams instead of the normal 5.67 grams, instantly standing out when weighed and valued in the millions due to its uniqueness, or a coin struck on a dime planchet resulting in a smaller piece with clipped designs that collectors would fight tooth and nail to own. And then of course we must talk about striking errors, because these are some of the most dramatic and visually exciting mistakes, and they include double strikes where the coin is struck twice, triple strikes with ghostly overlapping images, off-center strikes where only part of the design appears leaving large blank areas, misaligned dies that shift the design out of position, and brockages where one coin impresses its image onto another. And in 1997 the Philadelphia Mint certainly saw its share of such anomalies, and if one of those pieces combined with a wrong planchet error, the rarity would be off the charts, and that is how a single coin could reach the $47 million valuation, because the uniqueness of the mistake coupled with the story behind it makes it a one-of-a-kind treasure, and collectors and wealthy investors will pay whatever it takes to own something truly unique. And another layer of value comes from die errors such as doubled dies where parts of the design appear doubled due to hubbing misalignments. And in 1997 there were known instances of doubled dies in other denominations, so the possibility of a dramatic doubled die on a quarter is entirely real. And if such doubling affected critical features like Washington's eye, the inscriptions of Liberty or I in God We Trust, or even the date itself, then the error would be both visually striking and historically significant, and collectors adore doubled dies because they are easy to see and tell a story of mechanical imperfection in a world that strives for precision. And if the 1997 P quarter worth $47 million has a bold doubled die along with perhaps an off-center strike or a wrong planchet, then you can see why it became so valuable. And we must also talk about transitional errors, because the late 1990s were a time of transition in US coinage with the upcoming state quarters program. And while official composition did not change in 1997, experimental planches and dies could have been tested, and if one slipped into circulation, you would have a once-in-a-lifetime rarity, like a quarter struck on a leftover silver planchet from earlier decades or on a test medal that was never intended for release, and such coins would instantly be worth millions because they are effectively prototypes or accidents that escaped. And then there are edge errors such as partial collar strikes, or broad strikes where the collar that shapes the coin's rim fails, causing the coin to spread out larger than normal. And these errors are visually dramatic and beloved by collectors. And when they occur in combination with other mistakes, the value skyrockets. And let's not forget mint mark anomalies, because in 1997 the Philadelphia mint mark P was standard, but filled mint marks, repunched mint marks, or misplaced mint marks are rare and collectible. And when such a mint mark anomaly is combined with another striking error, the coin becomes a multi-million-dollar rarity, and the market for such coins is driven not only by technical details but also by human psychology, because wealthy collectors, investors, and museums crave ownership of unique objects, and when only one example is known, the law of supply and demand pushes values to extreme levels. And when a coin like the 1997 P quarter is discovered and authenticated by top grading services, its story spreads, fueling bidding wars at major auctions and resulting in prices like $47 million, which sound astonishing but reflect the real demand for something unique and irreplaceable. And another reason the 1997 P quarter is so valuable is its survival story, because error coins are supposed to be caught during minting and destroyed, but occasionally one slips through quality control and enters circulation, where it may sit unnoticed for years or decades until a sharp-eyed collector recognizes it, and the thought that such a treasure might have passed through someone's hands in a grocery store or sat forgotten in a coin jar makes the story even more compelling, and this mystery of survival adds to its legend, making collectors see it as a miracle coin, something that should not exist yet does, and that sense of impossibility is exactly what drives values into the tens of millions, because owning such a coin means owning not just metal but a story, a piece of history, a symbol of chance and rarity, and the 1997 P quarter embodies all of that. And when you break down the $47 million value, it makes sense when you consider that art, stamps, and collectibles of all types can reach similar valuations simply because of rarity, demand, and story, and coins are no different. In fact, they are even more compelling because they were intended for everyday use, yet a tiny fraction survive as priceless rarities, and the 1997 P quarter is exactly that, a coin that started life as ordinary change but through a chain of minting errors and survival against the odds has become one of the most valuable coins in existence, inspiring collectors everywhere to keep searching, to keep checking their change, and to never give up on the possibility that the next great discovery could be in their hands right now. And as we look deeper, we realize that the possibilities for error combinations are endless, from double denomination strikes where a coin already struck as a dime gets struck again as a quarter, creating a bizarre hybrid, to dramatic broad strikes without reading, to wrong metal compositions, to multiple overlapping strike errors, and each one of these possibilities adds layers of rarity and value. And when you combine them into one coin like the 1997 P quarter that has been valued at $47 million, you see how the numismatic market rewards uniqueness above all else. Last 1995 D quarter dollar. Today, because what we are about to explore is one of the most thrilling stories in the world of numismatics, the extraordinary tale of the 1995 D quarter dollar coin, a coin that on the surface appears to be nothing more than ordinary pocket change, but which, because of its unbelievable errors, striking mistakes, and the miraculous circumstances of its survival, has become a once-in-a-lifetime treasure valued at an astonishing $130 million. And while at first glance the idea of a 25-cent piece commanding a price that rivals world-famous works of art or luxurious mansions may seem absurd, when you truly understand the science, the history, the minting anomalies, and the collector psychology behind it, You will see why this valuation not only makes sense but is fully justified. So sit back and get ready, because this is not just the story of a coin, it is the story of how imperfection can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, how chance and error can create objects of desire worth life-changing fortunes, and how the 1995 D quarter has cemented its place in history as one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. And to start, we must first look at the year 1995 itself, a fascinating period in US coinage history because the Mint was working at full capacity, producing billions of coins annually at its major facilities, including Denver, where the D Mint mark signifies its origin. And with such high production volumes, there were naturally opportunities for mistakes, because even the most advanced machinery of the time could not completely eliminate human error, die wear, planchet preparation issues, or striking misalignments. And these rare mishaps are what gave birth to the legendary 1995 D quarter worth $130 million. And one of the first categories of mistakes we need to consider is wrong planchet errors, because the process of minting begins with planchets, the blank metal discs that are struck into coins, and when the wrong planchet is fed into the coin press, magic can happen. So imagine a quarter being struck on a dime planchet, or a cent planchet, or even a foreign coin blank. The result would be a coin with the design of a quarter but on the wrong size, wrong weight, and wrong metal, instantly standing out to experts and instantly commanding a premium. And in some extremely rare cases, coins have even been struck on experimental or transitional planchets that were never meant for circulation. And if the 1995 D quarter in question was struck on such a planchet, that alone would make it worth millions. And then when we add striking errors, the story becomes even more spectacular, because striking errors include off-center strikes where only part of the design is impressed, leaving large blank areas, double or triple strikes where the coin is struck multiple times with overlapping designs, brockages where one coin impresses its image onto another, and misaligned dies that shift the design off its normal position. And all of these types of errors are highly collectible, especially when they are bold and dramatic. And in 1995 the Denver Mint certainly produced its share of such anomalies. But if a single quarter combines several of them, such as being struck off-center on a wrong planchet with a double strike, then you are looking at a one-of-a-kind treasure whose uniqueness drives its value sky high. And that is precisely what makes the 1995 D quarter worth $130 million, because it is not just an error coin but a perfect storm of multiple errors layered on top of each other in a way that has never been repeated. And then we must look at die errors such as doubled dies, which occur when the die itself is improperly hubbed, leading to doubling in the inscriptions or design elements. And 1995 is already a famous year for doubled dies in other denominations like the cent. So the possibility of a dramatic doubled die on a 1995 D quarter is very real. And if such doubling were visible on the date, the motto "In God We Trust," or the word liberty, then the coin would be extremely desirable. And when combined with other striking mistakes, it becomes legendary. And there is also the possibility of mint mark anomalies such as repunched mint marks where the D appears doubled, or filled mint marks where the D is partially clogged and appears faint or distorted. And such mint mark varieties add further collectability. And when you put it all together, you begin to see why this coin is worth so much, because value in numismatics is not just about metal content but about rarity, uniqueness, and the stories that coins tell. And the story of the 1995 D quarter is one of survival against the odds, because error coins are supposed to be caught by quality control and destroyed. Yet this one slipped through and made its way into circulation, where it might have sat unnoticed in someone's pocket or coin jar for years until a sharp-eyed collector recognized it. And that sense of a miracle, of something that should not exist but does, is what captivates collectors and drives them to pay fortunes. And we must also consider transitional and experimental errors, because in the mid-1990s the Mint was preparing for big changes with the upcoming state quarters program. And it is entirely possible that experimental dies or planchets were being tested, and if a 1995 D quarter was struck on one of these experimental blanks, it would effectively be a prototype, something never intended to be released, and that would elevate its value beyond imagination. And then there are edge errors such as partial color strikes where the coin expands unnaturally, or broad strikes where the reading is missing, and these two are prized by collectors, especially when combined with other dramatic errors, and the visual impact of such a coin makes it even more desirable, because collectors love coins that clearly show something unusual without needing microscopes or advanced testing. And a 1995 D quarter with dramatic visible mistakes is exactly the kind of coin that creates headlines, sparks bidding wars, and achieves record prices. And when we talk about its valuation at $130 million, it is important to remember that in collectibles markets value is set not just by intrinsic rarity but also by demand. And when wealthy collectors, investors, or even museums compete for ownership of something unique, the price can climb to unimaginable levels, because to them, owning a piece of history that no one else can claim is worth far more than money. It is about prestige, legacy, and the thrill of having something irreplaceable, and that is why the 1995 D quarter has become a symbol of numismatic perfection through imperfection, because in a world of billions of coins, one single piece stands out as an accident of history, a miracle of minting, and a treasure worth $130 million, and the mystery of its existence only adds to its allure, because no one knows exactly how it slipped through, how it survived, and where it spent the early part of its life, and that enigma makes collectors even more passionate, because they are not just buying a coin, they are buying a story, and stories are what make collectibles priceless. And when you think about it, this coin is more than just metal. It is a reminder that perfection is not always the most valuable trait. Sometimes imperfection creates the greatest treasures of all, and so collectors around the world continue to check every 1995 D quarter they come across, weighing it, measuring it, examining it for doubling, looking at the strike and the mint mark, because while most are ordinary, the possibility that another incredible error exists keeps the hunt alive. And the legend of the $130 million quarter inspires countless people to search, to dream, and to never overlook even the smallest details in the coins they handle. And as we dive deeper into the specifics, we can imagine the possible combinations that would make a coin this valuable, like a 1995 D quarter struck on a cent planchet off-center with a bold double die and a repunched mint mark, or a quarter struck on an experimental silver planchet with a triple strike and broad struck edges, or even a double denomination error where a coin already struck as a dime was overstruck with quarter dies, creating a bizarre hybrid showing remnants of both designs. Each of these scenarios would result in a one-of-a-kind rarity, and in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is everything, because when only one example exists, collectors will pay whatever it takes to own it. And that is why this coin has achieved its legendary $130 million status. And what is most exciting is that coins like this remind us that treasures are hiding in plain sight, that the next great discovery could be in a handful of change, that what looks ordinary could in fact be extraordinary, and that is the beauty of coin collecting.